Look at the professionalism in Sulu as he pilots the USS Enterprise through space. Look at Spock doing his nails. Look at Kirk checking his Twitter account. Welcome back to the Star Trek Critic. Today we are going to grade Errand of Mercy. While hostilities between the Klingons and Federation are increasing, the Enterprise must go to Organia in the disputed territory and win them over. This means they can break the Prime Directive. We now learn that in 300 years, the Richter scale measures cultural development instead of earthquakes. There could actually be a longer list of countries besides just these two. It's a good thing the automatic shield's turned on. Can you imagine how far they'd have to throw themselves around if they didn't? The Enterprise fires back, the Klingons shoot again, and now they have to throw themselves in the opposite direction. The other ship is destroyed, and we never get to see what it looked like. Did Kirk fall asleep during all that fighting? I guess there's a war going on. The first point is lost for continuity, since Spock mentions humans only and it has been well established that the Federation has several different species. Obviously, he didn't watch Enterprise. Even Troy and Riker watched the last episode of Enterprise, and that one sucked. Of course, it was because they were in it. And why is no one giving Spock any grief, since it was his human sister that caused a war with the Klingons just 20 years ago? The answer to that is because Discovery is crap and doesn't belong in the Star Trek universe. And don't worry, I never post opinions or political views here, simply facts based on having an education. Kirk likes to use metaphors from the Old West, like he's on a wagon train through the stars or something. The next point is lost due to a stardate mismatch. This one is too close after Devil in the Dark. Unfortunately, very little in my videos deal with Lieutenant Uhura. Kirk leaves Sulu in command and makes it very clear to him to worry about the safety of the Enterprise and not the ground crew. Who is Spock pointing to? And why is his shirt messed up in the back? Why are they beaming down right in the middle of the road? Another point is lost for the commander and first officer beaming down together during a war with the Klingons. And another point is lost since they did not bring down a security detail for protection, especially since Kirk told Sulu to leave them behind. I'm pretty sure a fortress is a castle, or the other way around. This comment doesn't make sense because a castle would fit right in for their culture, or is that too much for a D- on the Richter scale? Here comes Aelborn with his unusual hand gestures of welcome. How long did it take him to figure that one out? How is being a councilman on the board of elders not a person of authority? Spock wants to look around, and that is a polite way of saying he wants to spy on the people. Kirk gives a long-winded propaganda speech that says the Klingons are bad and the Federation is good and they should join the Federation. He sounds like a used car salesman. The Organians strangely don't seem to give a shit. Kirk lets out all the stops. He's sounding a little shady right now. The Organians are very good at fooling Spock and his tricorder, and pretty much the Federation and the Klingon Empire, since they may be as powerful as the Q. That's why they always have that strange smile on their faces, since it's hard for them not to laugh when Kirk makes all these offers. The Enterprise is under attack, so Sulu leaves for safety. Trefane is very smart. How does he know all this? Where is he getting his information? Kirk wants to know too. That means he is a Jedi and the Force is strong with him. The Klingons march just like the Nazis in The Sound of Music. He's like, hey, you're going the wrong way. The Organians give them local clothing and stole their phasers. If this is such a primitive society, why do the doors open magically? So, -1 point. Looks like an old-fashioned stare-down to me. Kor is complaining about their smiles. The Organians smile because they are fooling everyone and getting away with it. Well, almost everyone is smiling. The Organians really know how to piss off the Klingons. Just obey and smile, and that will irritate the shit out of them. Kirk has learned the Organian welcome gesture, but when he does it, he is secretly flipping them all off. Why are the Klingons posting rules in English on Organia? So, -1 point. Their goal is to stop the Organian coronavirus. Spock is back from the interrogation. It was pretty thorough. The Klingon pushes Kirk, who flips them off with the Organian welcome. Kirk is convinced the Organians will take his side if they blow up the ammunition dump. Little do they know, the Organians are simply watching all of this like a soap opera. And if you're going to be stealthy trying to blow something up in the middle of the night, I would recommend against using a sonic grenade, which will make more noise than a regular grenade. Kirk is extremely frustrated at the Organians' non-aggression, but they just like getting under his skin. How do they not see this thing? Kor has been listening to them all along. Aelborn is no help at all. Kirk's like, we're screwed now. It looks like Kirk and Kor now have less respect for the Organians than they do for each other. Kor and Kirk have a nice little chat. We all know what this means. This is a polite way of him saying he's going to have to kill Kirk. Even while in jail, Kirk is convinced he still has to win over the Organians and attack the Klingons. They aren't worth it. Now Kirk and Spock are more confused than anything. The guy who just ratted them out now breaks them out of jail. Didn't Kirk say this to Aelborn just yesterday? Kirk is convinced they are doing this for monetary gain. But I don't think this means they're offering a cash reward. And now Kirk is freaking out about their smiling. They can't stop smiling since the Organians are really playing tricks on both the Federation and the Klingon Empire. And it doesn't get any better. Kor just killed 200 Organians, or at least he thought he did, and Kirk thinks he did too. But the council just sits there and smiles more than they did before. They really know how to piss people off. Kirk's reaction is to steal the door, and he wants his phasers back so he can go out and shoot at Klingons. Aelborn says no, but Trefane says to let Kirk have his toys, since he's going to be in for a surprise anyway. Kirk says, you guys suck, but we're going to defend you anyways, even if it gets us killed. And the response is to sit there and smile. In a tense situation, Spock states the odds, which are terrible. I believe you should take Han Solo's advice. Never tell me the odds. Would his phaser work if it was set on kill, or would the Organians interfere? The Organians have fooled Kirk and Spock to the point they don't realize this structure looks just like the one Captain Pike fought the giant in on Rigel 7. Their whole city here is a fabrication just so they can mess with the outsiders. That's what she said. The Organians are now going to do their magic. Kor is getting sick of the Organians too. He's used to resistance, and all they do is smile. And seriously, how does Spock calculate the odds? And now they are together, but it turns out there is a fleet of Federation and Klingon ships facing each other in orbit. So these guys just gotta stand there and shout insults at each other. I don't think Kor knows how to play chess. He doesn't know what checkmate means. Kor again plays bartender. Spock thinks Kor was born too soon. This is the one Star Trek episode that doesn't have a big fist fight at the end. It's because those pacifist Organians think the show needs to be more cerebral instead. The Organians have now taken over. Kor uses the Boggart banishing spell to get rid of them. Q had the same problem. And then the big question here is, what is the home planet of the Federation? Ironically, Kirk and Kor were both trying to take over the planet, and now complain when the Organians take over their fleet. Those imperialist bastards have been overthrown by some old smiley guys. Now they both address legitimate complaints. Maybe a negotiating table is what they need. And now the Organians have become the imperialist bastards, putting an end to all that tribal squabbling. How quickly the tables have turned. Kirk is pissed because they threw his double standards right back at him. It's just too much for him to handle. He must be a liberal. And now it turns out the Organians are offended by the presence of humans and Klingons. The whole purpose of them looking like a stagnant, helpless civilization was to play a trick on both of them and make them look like fools. Now they turn into their real form as beings of light. So how many energy-based creatures have the various Starfleet crews come upon? That'd make a great video. Maybe these guys are more related to the Ship of Light. After this light display, Spock makes his famous comment. Spock's comparison is pretty accurate, and the Organians actually look down on them in almost the same way. The two captains are disappointed that they can't go to war. Spock is like, seriously? Kirk is humbled by the fact he was snookered by superior life forms, but Spock reassures him it took millions of years for the Organians to reach their point of existence, so it isn't that big of a deal. His evolutionary speech is close to some Mormon philosophies, and touches on some evolutionary ideas. Of course, Star Trek usually meets these beings after they have evolved. Very rarely do they find their race in between. The moral of this story is, if you want to take over a planet, make sure the inhabitants aren't powerful enough to wipe you out of existence. And Errand of Mercy gets a whopping score of 94%. Congratulations. Will we ever see a blue shirt at the helm again? Or hear the term Vulcanian? I don't think we will. He's on to Spock. He's saying, you don't look like a storekeeper. I think your human sister caused a war between us and the Federation. And that's why he's saying, take this man away. So, who were the Organians? Walt Davis had a short life, but he was able to get almost 100 screen credits, including Battlestar Galactica. Peter Bracco lived a long life and had 300 screen credits to his name. He's had a part in nearly every TV show, and you can also see him in the movie Homebodies. Aelborn was played by John Abbott, who was born in England and has over 150 screen credits. Not only was he a Shakespearean actor, he worked in the British Embassy in Moscow during World War II. And Kor was played by John Colicos, a Canadian who earned over 200 screen credits. He was also a Shakespearean actor and well noted for his portrayal of King Lear. He hated humans so much in Star Trek, he decided to betray the entire human race in Battlestar Galactica as Baltar, where he encountered the Organians' cousins in the Ship of Lights. He returned to Star Trek again in Deep Space Nine, but how did Kor's ridges grow back? And that's all for today. Thanks for viewing. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists, and click that like button, the share button, and that subscribe button. And I will see you again soon.